Welcome to the Vision Builders podcast. This podcast is for creatives and academics who want to build and brand a writing life to multiply their talents for greater impact. If you're ready to capture your stories, amplify your voice, and monetize your style, you're in the right place. We are Vision Builders. Let's get into it. Really ready. All right. Well,
Okay.
welcome to the Vision Builders podcast. We are talking with Leigh Pierce today. And I want to introduce Leigh to you all because she's fantastic. I really enjoy talking with her. Yes. And just good energy. So I asked her to come and talk with me about her journey as a writer, but also toward publishing. And so she's got a really unique kind of story. I don't even know if it's like that unique for writers, but let's just say every journey is absolutely unique. And I love talking to every writer because your journey is your own. And so I am saying unique. So let me introduce Leigh. Leigh Pierce, née Cheek, is a poet, a writer, and an editor living just outside of Nashville, Tennessee, with her husband and her two littles, Lyra and Mikey. She's a key account sales manager at Ingram Content Group, where she works with Ingram Spark publishers to print, distribute, and market their books. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Let me try that again.
I wish it was my books. I would be making so much more money.
Right. I think I'm speaking something into being here.
We're working on it. We're working on it.
Right. So she's working with all of you to print, distribute, and market your books. All right. She obtained her MFA in creative writing from Western Kentucky University, and her poems have appeared in the Poetry Gymnasium, the second edition, the Wildflower Press's anthology, Wild Voices, Volume 2, the Windover, the McNeese Review, and Beecher's Magazine, among others. She's written for the Ingram Spark blog, as well as Writers in the Storm. So I just want to welcome Leigh Pierce to the Vision Builders podcast. Thank you, Leigh, for joining us.
I'm so glad to be here.
Thank
It's
you.
gonna be fun.
Yeah. I love talking to you, Leigh, because it's like we met at a writers conference and it was just so easy to talk to you. And it was like immediately we felt like, okay, we're going to talk again. Not only about publishing, but we're going to talk again.
So we're going to be friends.
You're stuck. You're stuck, ma'am.
That's really how it goes. You either love it and you're here for this energy, or you're like, that girl's crazy.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Well, I'm here. I'm here for that energy.
Well, thank you. I'm so glad.
Yeah, that's what's up. Okay.
I'm here for it.
So I know that one of the things that I'm really curious about is like your journey, right? Your journey as a writer. I know that folks would love to hear about this and I want to hear about it. So I just want to ask you, can you talk a little bit about when you started writing? I mean, a lot of people talk about, oh, I've always been a writer, but let's get into the weeds about it a little.
The weeds. Okay. So I have that like obvious sad story that begins all of the I was a traumatized youth. My parents were divorcing and I just turned to writing to save me, which is, the cliche story, but it really is what happened for me. So I was really, really close with my dad, and then all of a sudden he wasn't there anymore.
Okay.
And I didn't really know what to do with all of that. And so I started writing poems, and I had wonderful English teachers who I felt comfortable with and shared them with. And they were like, this is awesome. And so they would have me read them. And I remember I got to read one of my poems over the intercom for everybody to hear. And I thought it was so cool. And I was getting all of this really positive feedback for it. And, some of my peers were like, oh my gosh, what is wrong with her? But it really just nurtured me and made me really love poetry specifically, because that's what I was writing. I tried writing a fiction book, and it was really, really plagiarized.
Oh my God.
I was I was in love with Amelia Atwater Rhodes, and she had this like vampire series, and I was all about it. And so I pretty much wrote fan fiction. And
Oh,
I
because that's what that is. I mean, when you're when you're like, I'm just gonna
yeah.
extend somebody else's
Well, it
idea,
was like
so now I'm fan fiction.
it was her world, but I was like creating my own characters, but like it was just really bad. So I was like so proud of this book, but I'm like, I look back at it a few years later and I was like, oh gosh, did I write that? But yeah, so it was not good. I found that writing fiction and like long form stories was just really hard for me. I could not maintain, and I'm very much an editor, so it's like it's not perfect. I have to
Okay.
fix this part, and if this part doesn't make sense, then I have to go back and fix it. I just
Oh my
could not
gosh.
ever finish anything. So I really leaned into poetry. Um, but I was kind of under the impression that while poetry was all right and I was kind of good at it, because I had, again, wonderful teachers. I know in like high school, I was in part of the creative writing club, and I had a mentor who was wonderful, who helped me to realize that I was not good at writing poetry at that beginning, but she helped me get better.
Oh wow. Wait a
I
minute.
was so bad. It was
Wait,
so
hold
bad.
on. You just went from writing poetry that your teachers love to your mentor saying that maybe you could do a little better.
That's
What
what it was, is she
okay.
pushed me to be better. She's like, yeah,
Okay.
you're writing some cliched writing and it's good that you're writing, but
Okay.
let's do something more. And so by
Yeah.
the end of the year, I was completely different, writing things that were so much more sophisticated. And she really
Okay.
pushed me to be better.
Okay.
Um,
So it was really getting your writing out of that space of cliche. That's what
Out of
like
cliche, out of like, my life sucks and I'm just so sad and
okay.
yeah. And so she really pushed me to make it more of an art rather than just bleeding on a page.
Okay.
And so her name is Sue Churchill. I'll never forget her. She was wonderful.
Oh. Okay,
Um,
shout out to Sue
Shout out to
Churchill.
her. What's so funny is later in college, so I thought being a writer, I wasn't going to be able to make money. I wasn't going to be able to support myself. I've got to do something that's going to like make sense. And
Yeah.
so I was shadowing cardiologists, one in particular, and I thought I was going to be a cardiothoracic surgeon when I went into college.
Oh my God. Okay, so this is so weird because part of my story is the fact that I was going to be a medical doctor. And yeah, this is weird. Keep going.
We all have that moment, I think, where we're like,
That was
doctors
super
make so much
specific,
more
by the way.
money.
Yeah,
I want to be a doctor. I'll never have to
right.
worry. But then I
That's
realized,
exactly. Holy cow.
I
That is
know.
so funny. Isn't
And
that funny?
so
Because it's something about being a writer that convinces you that there's no way I could possibly work in this area. So, what's the
yeah,
exact opposite of
yeah.
being broke? And we
And
automatically think medical doctor.
yes. And I was like, I remember I researched and a cardiologist made like a quarter of a million a year. And I'm like, that sounds like security. I
That
like
sounds
that.
good.
But then I get to college and I take honors chemistry 120, which is like the hardest you
Mm.
can take at Western.
Oh my
And
gosh.
it kicked my ass. I got the first D in my life and I was like,
Oh my gosh.
and so I
That sounds a lot like
realized,
my first bio class.
right? So I realized I'm like, this ain't gonna work. So I took the class over in the summer and I got an A. So I knew I could do it. But then the
Mm,
question became, where does my priority lie? And
right,
ultimately, I wanted to have a family. I wanted to have a job that was really meaningful, but that would allow me to have that kind of life outside of it. And
right, right,
chemistry 120 taught me that if I wanted to do it, I could. That wasn't the
right,
problem. The problem was, did I want to invest the time that it would take in order to do that and do it well? Because I wasn't naturally gifted at chemistry and math, because math is the
Say it
application.
again for the people in the back.
Right. And what somebody told me, it was like chemistry is the application of physics and physics is the application of math. And if you're not good at math, you're not going to be good at any of them. And I was like,
Wow,
"Oh,
I don't even think I've heard that formula before, but it makes perfect sense. It
yeah." And it
does.
made so much sense to me. And I was like, "Okay, I don't want to do this." But again, I had another teacher, um, Dr. Reese, and he was like, he sent a letter home to my family and was like, I think that Leigh would be a really good candidate for an English major. She's done so well in this literature class that she had to take, and I can
Wow.
tell that she's gifted at writing. Consider it. And I was like, you know what? I will. So I
I think I
immediately
will
switched
consider it.
over to an English major and I got into creative writing. I took classes and I fell in love with it. I became part of the creative writing club there. I felt like just it came so easily and I loved it so much. But then I had some really great teachers. I'm telling you, teachers make all of the difference.
Okay.
One of my professors, Dr. Mary Miller, Professor Mary Miller. She wasn't a doctor, but she was awesome. She might as
Mhm.
well. She had an honorary doctorate, I think. So she and my mentor, Tom, um, they got me into a writer's workshop with a scholarship.
Okay.
And so Sue Churchill was there. It was such a crazy moment. I'm like, oh,
Okay, wow.
my teacher from my
Wait, your
past was
teacher from
there.
high school
Yeah, she was
was
in
in the
because it was
writer's
for
workshop?
writers, like the older established writers. I was the one student in that class. And I
Wow.
met poets that like are writing books and doing work. And we had a poetry workshop with Morris Manning.
Hey, creative, thank you so much for listening in to the Vision Builders podcast. I want to make sure that you don't miss out on what is coming up very, very soon, and that is our fall writing retreat. The Salt and Solace writing retreat is right around the corner. It's happening this year in October, that weekend of October 17th through the 19th. You will spend 3 days, 2 nights in a beautiful beach house, Hilton Head Island, and we are going to have an just amazing time. It's time to revise, it's time to write, it's time to relax, and just either celebrate what you've already done or go ahead and get some more writing done. Wrap it up there or get it started there. Join me at the Salt and Solace writing retreat this fall in Hilton Head Island in South Carolina, October 17th through the 19th. The link is in the comments. I can't wait to see you there. This okay, so we got to pause for a second because a couple things just happened.
Okay.
Okay. A couple things just happened. So one thing is, I mean, you started by just talking about the fact that the teacher is who kind of pointed at you and said, "Hey girl,
Hmm.
think about this." Even if your work wasn't perfect, right? But she saw something. And then you had another person step in as a mentor and sort of say, you know what? You've got some gaps, you've got some struggles, but I see something. And so let's get some sophistication. Let's start moving, and just, no pressure, but kind of mentored you into developing a little bit.
Yeah.
Then you had another instructor in college kind of tell you, hey, not just you, but just send a whole letter home to say, listen, you need to consider focus in this area, right?
Hmm.
And then you end up saying for yourself, I think I am going to take this more seriously because all along the way, you were still contemplating, what can I do for work though?
Yeah.
like what can I do for career though, right? Up until that moment where it's
Yeah.
like English major, you know.
Even as an
And
English major, I remember
yeah.
thinking like the only way you become an English major is if you have no other alternative. Like
Oh
you know
wow.
you're meant to be that.
Okay.
And this is what you have to do.
Okay. And then
And
so, you end up in a workshop that brings you kind of full circle and now you're in this community of writers.
hmm
Right? Now you're in a community of writers that includes your
me.
mentors.
And my mentor. Yeah.
And
Um,
published authors. Like,
oh,
you're the single student in there. So this is an interesting, yeah, this is a cool journey.
and so, yeah, so I'm workshopping with these established writers and poets and just getting better. And it's always about refining. And I think that's one of my strengths has always been I will listen to any critique. And ultimately, if I respect the writer, I'll believe what they tell me and probably make the change, unless it's in my
I
gut,
love that.
like, no, it has to be this way. Because that's
Yeah,
happened
yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
couple of times. But for the
Yeah,
most part, I trusted that people who were, more experienced, more established than me, were giving me suggestions because they wanted to help me, not to put me down. I never thought for a minute any criticism towards my work was personal. And so
oh,
I
that's
always
huge.
tried to take what they said to me and apply it and make it better. And I think that it worked. Because if I look at what I wrote, even last month compared to the stuff that I was writing in early college. Like it's so much better. Experience and the more you learn really affects that, and you can see that in the work. So I feel
Yeah,
like that's one of the things that really helped me to continue just to do better is because I was always willing to hear and to take into consideration the criticisms and critiques of others.
that's
Um,
huge. That's huge. Like, how you take feedback, right? Because if, as
mhm,
a writer, you really, a lot of times we feel like this, what we've done is so personal. Like, we take so much ownership over the draft that we have that
mhm.
getting feedback feels really vulnerable. Like, it
Yeah.
feels like, especially if, like you said, you're speaking from spaces of trauma, spaces of hurt sometimes.
Oh,
And
and let me tell you, I have a whole book about daddy issues.
correct. Not here's the title. Daddy issues. But yeah,
No,
I mean,
the title is You Don't Talk About It. It was actually my thesis.
yes. Okay, so okay, the poem You Don't Talk About It. I have heard this poem. I went and listened to this poem. This is available. So y'all, if you haven't heard this poem, you need to go and hear this poem because
Oh, thanks.
it's, yes, it's doing a thing. It's doing a thing, girl. Like, and I think I felt like in this moment, there was one moment in there that, it turns and it's where you say, "I'm a kettle holding steam." And from that moment, everything that you describe about what it feels like to kind of wanna blow, like the way that, you know, it feels like women want to blow in that way that they kind of do in Fight Club. And that's all I'm going to say about it because you have to go and kind of listen to the poem
I love that poem.
because it's a great piece and it's got some fantastic lines in there. We'll talk about that later.
Okay, we can
But
talk
but
about it
no,
later.
I do. I love it. And I'm thinking about how that, that kind of poem. So did you work that poem like that? That was the thing that you were kind of workshopping too in that space? Or
So that poem came in my grad school.
okay.
But I had kind of started it a little bit earlier than that, and I took it to a workshop. So my mentor Tom Hunley, he's a published poet. Go look up his stuff. He's fantastic.
Yeah.
He had a little workshop at the local coffee shop, Spencer's Coffee Shop, and
Shout
like
out
a
Spencer's.
handful of us would go meet there, and we would workshop poetry. And I remember a coworker, or not a coworker, he was also a student, but like his older than I was. His name is Jay
Mhm.
Sizemore, who is also a poet, but he's a little he you either really like Jay or you hate him. He's
Okay.
one of those guys.
Okay.
But he's the one who helped me kind of like clean up a little bit in the beginning. And I think he had the idea to put the line, I want to go ape shit on my boss's nose. And I was like,
Okay.
this doesn't feel like it makes sense in this poem, but it does.
Yeah, and that's okay, there's another line in there, y'all, that you're gonna you'll understand more when you hear the poem. You'll understand it a little bit more. But no, that happens in a workshop. Like when someone
Yeah.
it's almost like someone, um, connects to what you're saying so much that they really want it to hit, right?
Hmm.
And sometimes it's a line that they just really want you to hit, and they're gonna harp on it, and they want you to make it better. But like you said, you kind of have to trust that they're trying to help you overall, that there's a
Hmm.
reason, right? That there's
Yeah.
it's not that it's not great what you have, but that they're really trying to help you to move it forward and to, like, maintain whatever it is, like the tone, the rhythm, or to
You really
create a
have to
moment.
have that network of people that you can hear that from, because
Right.
we get so locked in our own minds about what we wanted to do with it. But
Oh, man.
ultimately, what we wanted to do with it exists only in our hair, in our head. And
Mhm.
what's on that page is going to affect different people as it does. And
Yeah.
so I can't control how you feel about this poem, how you connect with it, beyond, only so far. So
Yeah.
just because I meant to do a thing with it doesn't mean that you're going to get that, and that's okay. Because the
Yeah.
beauty of art is that it speaks to different people on different levels. It's supposed to be that way. It's not just one
Yes.
thing.
Yes.
And so that's one of the things I always wanted to remember and keep in the back of my head when people were giving me feedback is they're coming to it as a reader and as somebody who experienced it. I'm coming to it as the writer who tried to force it to be a thing. And
Mm.
ultimately, it's about finding the balance between those two things, for me at least.
Yeah. And create, yeah, that idea that you always have this interaction with an audience, that it's a part of the process of
Hmm.
writing. No, that's good. So, is the what point did you start really taking yourself seriously as a writer? Was it the point at which you changed your major? Was it the moment that you were sort of tapped? Was it after you got to the workshop where you were like, okay, this is real? Like, what point did you start taking it seriously and thinking, this is a thing. I'm gonna do this.
So I think when I got tapped and I decided to change my major was definitely the turning point for me, because I knew I wanted to be a writer as a hobby, but I never
Mm,
really considered it as being like what I could go into as a profession.
okay.
um, until we started looking at English majors and what that could look like. And, I graduated with this master, or with this bachelor's of arts in English. I'm like, what am I going to do? Well, clearly I've got to go to an MFA program, but I
Yeah.
had to wait a year because applying to MFA programs ain't cheap.
Yeah.
Um, but don't go to an MFA program unless it's really, really, really good and they give you a scholarship.
Yeah. There you go.
Don't go into debt for an MFA. They will pay
Yeah.
you for it if it's meant to be.
Yeah.
So that was an advice that somebody had, I think Tom gave me that one. Um
Makes
so
sense.
I popped out, did a little bit of work, did a lot of weird jobs. I like was one of those people who set off fireworks at shows. I'm
Okay.
terrified of fire, but I did a lot of really weird stuff.
Okay.
I was a firework person. I worked as an optometrist technician. I worked
Huh.
help people put contacts in their eyes. It was great. Um, I also worked at a place that put together maps of where coax and fiber was laid for like cable companies and stuff.
Oh.
I did a lot of really weird things.
Okay. I mean,
And
they're
so
jobs. You had a lot of jobs
they're
while you were
jobs,
doing it.
yeah. It's a
Yeah.
lot of experience, so I get a lot of
Yeah.
cool things that I can put into places. But I applied for MFAs. I knew I wanted to go, so I applied to several. I got into a couple, but Western Kentucky had just started their, like, it was the first year for it, and they were offering me a full scholarship, and it felt like a homecoming. So I went there, and I knew going into it, like, this is the serious moment. We are going to do something professionally with writing. Let's just go and kick ass and write a lot of poems and learn a lot of things and get into a place where we're ready to, be a professional. And so going through that, I wrote a lot. I have my thesis, which you can find online if you want to. It's under Lychee. You don't talk about it. But I
The
put that
link
out
will
into the
be
world.
in the show notes, y'all. We'll put the
Yeah,
link
I'll
in
put
the
it
show
there.
notes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but So after that, it was like, well, what are you going to do? And it's like, if you want to be a teacher, you go into a doctorate program,
Mhm.
or you can, try to teach a little bit like adjunct university level English. So I was like,
Right.
okay, we can do that, or we can go into publishing. Where do we go? And,
Right.
from Kentucky, there's not a big publishing scene there.
Mm.
Um, University of Kentucky Press does some good stuff, but
Mhm.
not a whole lot other than that. So I was like, well, Nashville is close and they have a big publishing scene. I'll head that way. Um,
Oh, so you
and
literally moved there to get into the publishing scene.
yeah, and also
Oh,
I was dating somebody whose family was here. It kind of made sense.
it made sense.
Um,
Okay.
yeah.
It worked out.
So I was jobless for several months and it was freaking me out. Um, and I kept applying for different things. Not even like it didn't work out going to do like adjunct professoring for me. And honestly, I didn't love teaching while I was doing it. It's part of the grad school thing. You have to teach.
Yes. Yes.
I did it. It was fine. I love being with people, but I am not teacher material.
Okay.
We're just gonna go with
It's a
that.
special, yeah, it takes a special kind of
It
person,
really
doesn't
does, like,
it?
having to grade the papers and return
Oh
them
my
and give good
goodness.
feedback, and, like,
That's
I was
nobody's
very much
favorite
that
thing.
teacher who's like, if I didn't mark on it, it was good.
That's and not giving that sort of you're like, "It's
I'm not a
fine."
compliment sandwich girl. So I knew that that wasn't gonna be for me. So I'm like, "Where can I go with publishing?" And I applied, um, to a couple of different publishers. There was, like, Tommy Nelson and some other things down here. And a friend of mine was like, "Well, you should definitely apply to Ingram. They're everything to do with the business." And I'm like, "I don't even know who that is. Are you
Yeah,
sure?"
right.
Okay. I applied
Right.
as a buyer and as something else, and I did not hear back. And I'm like, this is getting scary. But then a customer support position opened up, and I applied for that, and I was able to get it, and it was awesome. And so I started my career at Ingram as a customer support rep.
But that's okay, so that was the entry point,
Yeah, because
right?
I had worked at Kohl's and some other places. So, like, customer support is really easy for me. I like talking to people, I like figuring out problems. It kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, and I was really good at it. So that sounds really obnoxious to say that, but I
No, no,
was.
no, 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 because
Um,
sometimes, I mean, all along the way, you develop all these skill sets, right? You develop
mhm.
all these skill sets, and some people feel like those are distractions. Like this is me not being focused. This is me not sticking to sticking
Yeah,
to the plan. But in reality, we all know that you're still picking up all of the skills. You're still picking up and you're
yeah.
training yourself and you're becoming more professional and you're
And being
learning how to
able
do
to
things.
interact with people is 100% a
Exactly.
necessary skill.
Exactly. Even as a writer who may not care to interact that much
Right?
with
Well,
other
I'm one of
people.
those like really extroverted writers, if you couldn't tell.
Yeah. Yeah. But, I know
So
there's some introverted writers thinking, "Oh, no, 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 I don't wanna I would never," but there are other jobs, like, maybe it's not forward-facing customer service type of things, but there are other things that you're doing and training in that are going to help you to be more, skilled and professional in the areas of writing that operate for you,
mhm,
professionally. So
yeah.
you then have your entry point at Ingram. You
Mhm.
are jumping into this space that is like more about self-publishing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so talk to us a little bit about, what it is that you do now in publishing and maybe tell us like what is your favorite part of it?
Okay. So I'll start by saying that going through the academic space, self-publishing is very much like you only do that if you're not good enough to be professionally published.
Mm.
And
Yeah, that's the
so
sort of that's the sort of
that was the permeating
mystique
thing
and
that I
permeating
felt.
narrative. Yeah.
Yeah. And so for me, it was like, well, this is self-publishing, but it's a job and it's in
Okay.
publishing. And you know what? We'll just figure it out. But as I learned more about this platform and I learned more about self-publishing in general, because you have to be aware of what's going on in the industry, or at least for me, I had to, because I wanted to know enough so I could move and talk to people. Um, but I realized that there are a lot of really talented people who have gone through the traditional publishing route, maybe, or maybe they haven't at all, but like just because somebody has a published book, they're not always great. Like I've read
Yeah.
some not great books,
Yeah.
and they were
Yeah.
put forth by traditional publishers. And then I've read some really amazing books. I've read really amazing fan fiction by people.
Mm.
And, great stories exist outside of traditional publishing. And so
Mm.
I immediately started to realize that what I had come to internalize about self publishing was not true. Great
Wow.
stories are great stories, no matter where they get. And actually,
Period.
self publishing was allowing people who had stories that weren't fitting a certain mold to get out into the world. And so, indie publishing actually became a really amazing space for um, diverse voices to
Yeah.
start putting those books out and making them accessible to readers. And it wasn't just, these ones that we were seeing over and over
Over
again.
and over again, right.
Yeah.
The
And
14th
so,
sequel to the same type of, plot line, because that's what
yeah.
was selling, and so therefore that's what it's kind of like in everything, right? It's kinda like the movies and all the things. It's sort of like, where are the new stories? And,
Yes.
when you get into these conversations, like, how do you get to these new stories? But it's different. If you're dealing in traditional publishing, it's great, but like you said, a lot of times there are constraints around
Hmm.
traditional publishing, and they are looking for a very clear line between you and the money.
Hmm.
Like a very,
Yeah.
very clear line.
They want to be able
Um,
to sell books.
yeah,
And
that's the whole objective.
yeah. And also, like, the more I learned about self-publishing, I also was the more I learned about traditional publishing and how they differed.
Yeah,
And I didn't realize how much control you have to release for your work if you go through the traditional publishing route. Like,
absolutely you do. It's
you
true.
sign that contract, and that book's not yours anymore. It has your name on it, but ultimately editors are going to do what they want to it. They're going to put whatever kind of cover they think is going to sell this book best, and that may not align with what you thought that book should have.
Yeah,
And then like you might get like a really big royalty up front, but then it's like pennies for every book sold, and it's like that just didn't seem fair, but it also didn't seem like I didn't want to entrap myself or,
yeah.
let other people think that that was the only way that you could go about publishing books. And
Yeah. Oh, there's
so,
such a, there's that just to hone in on that point about control, that happens to a lot of writers. The idea of even a cover and what a cover represents for your book is huge. It's huge
hmm,
because I remember a story about Octavia Butler, right?
yeah,
And one of her books, and she despised the cover that they chose for the book. And honestly, when you look at the cover, it is not a representation of the book, not even the characters in the book.
hmm,
And so she was really upset by that. But again, where is the control that you have over that? You don't have it. And so if you are, especially like you said, maybe an underrepresented voice, in out here in the field, and especially in a niche like
hmm,
sci-fi or fantasy or these types of things, and the publisher decides, well, I'm going to put something that sells on your cover, even if it looks nothing like the characters that you've written about. That can be pretty disturbing, and it can impact how you feel about your work and your
hmm.
ability to sell it. And then, like you said, your control is like gone.
Yeah. So I think one of the things that I love most about what I do now is I'm no longer in customer support, but it definitely gave me a lot of information, a lot of insight into the business. Now I'm in sales. And so I love what I do because I get to work with publishers at different levels and help them to really make their books shine and to get them out into the world, to get those stories heard. A lot of people just are limited by what they don't know, and they don't know what they don't know, so they don't know what
Right.
questions to ask. And so
Right.
I like to be that person who's like, I hear what you're doing. Let me supplement and give you what you need. I love taking
Mm.
care of people. So that's just natural for me. It's like I love that I get to have use the knowledge that I've gained and help people to better succeed in doing what they're trying to do.
So, with that in mind and thinking about what people don't know, like what's the first piece of advice that you typically give to writers who want to get their work out, who want to both have control over what they're
Hmm.
doing, but also they want their work published. They want to have an impact on their audience. What
Hmm.
kind of advice do you typically give?
So I would say I think that everybody thinks that traditional publishing equals success.
Mm,
And while traditional publishing does mean somebody else sees value in your work and they want to put their resources behind it to see it do well, that is good, but it's not the only way. And it's not the only way to measure success either.
mm,
Um, though I get that money is a thing. But I would say, there are options. So there's independent publishing, there's self-publishing, there's traditional publishing. I would say my number one advice is just to keep your mind open to all of the avenues and go with what feels right for you in your book.
mm,
And if you really want to control what that book looks like, you want to have a hand in everything that goes on with it, strongly consider self-publishing. But know that that means that you have to take on the job as a publisher as well as a writer. And
mm.
publishing is a job for a reason because it requires a
Yes.
lot of work and a lot of knowledge. And if
Yeah.
you want to get behind that and you want to do that, I think you should feel empowered that there are resources out there to help you to do that. You can do that on your own. If
Yes.
you really want to focus on the writing and you don't really want to have to learn to be a publisher, you can look at independent or traditional publishing routes. But keep in mind, traditional publishing, you're going to need to send out queries. You're going to have to get an agent. You're going to have to submit your books all over the place, and you're going to go into slush piles, and you're going to get a lot of rejections. Um, and maybe somebody will love your book and want to publish it, and that's awesome for you. But also, if you don't want to deal with all that nonsense, you can find smaller publishers all over the place. There are so
Right.
many in this world who
Right.
are looking for good stories and want to help put them out into the world. And so I would just say broaden your scope.
Mm. No, that's good. That's good because so many people, like you said, they're moving with those prevailing narratives like, I've got to get an agent. I've written a book, I've got to get an agent, or and they completely skip some of the smaller houses, like smaller publishing houses or opportunities, smaller publishers. And and that's if they don't want to think about publishing because the idea too is that in self-publishing, if you have guidance, if you have some guidance and you're not too afraid of the technology, you might want to think about it. I mean, some people they consider, self-publishing, they just literally want to drop their book off, on Amazon and keep walking away and think that they're
That's not
going
how
to
self-publishing
that's
works.
not how this
I
works.
mean, you can do that. You won't see many
You
sales.
won't
You won't see a
do
lot of
well.
action going on for it. But
Yeah.
I think one thing I would say there is just because it's called self-publishing doesn't mean you do everything absolutely yourself.
There you
Okay.
go.
So you can still self-publish a book, but pay a designer to put your cover together in a way that works for you. Like, I'm not
Mm.
telling you you have to learn how to use Photoshop and design and
Right.
make your own cover, or you have to edit yourself. Like, being a
Please don't edit
self-publisher
yourself.
means, yeah, oh my gosh, please don't.
Please don't edit
Oh,
yourself. Please don't edit yourself, okay? I have a couple of books and I help people and I teach people writing, and please don't edit yourself. You don't see what other people see. Am I
your
right?
brain will automatically fix stuff for you.
Right.
Yeah, don't
So,
do it.
got to have other people
You
involved.
have to have other people. Self-publishing is you are the creative director, but you find a team to work with to get the project done. You don't need to do everything by yourself in order to make it happen.
I love that. I love that you're saying you're the creative director. Like,
Yeah.
that's amazing because yes, like, I'm the creative director over my book. Now, this is a different mindset, right? Like,
Hmm.
this is a mindset that basically says, you know, I'm in control of this process, but I'm finding the support that I need. I'm finding
Yeah.
people who are good in these areas so I don't have to carry that burden.
Yeah.
So that's amazing.
And I mean, let's be real. Like, I don't, there is maybe like a handful of magnificent people who can write really well and design really well and format really well and market really well and do all of the things that you have to do in publishing all by themselves. I'm sure that a handful of people exist, but for the
Right.
majority of us, that's not going to
This girl right
happen.
here. Right. And even if they do all of those things well, I mean, seriously, you still need editors. Like, you're just not you can't do this work in isolation. It's one
You
thing to
really
write
can.
in isolation, but you don't want to produce. And the thing about what I do love about self-publishing, um, and when people can do self-publishing and they commit to that part of the process, what I do love about it is that you get to make decisions and think about what you're doing in a different way. I
Yeah.
mean, and plus, usually when you're self-publishing, I feel like it's a great way to go when it comes down to n your concerns not being just about the money.
Hmm.
And let me say this, obviously, people want to sell books, but a lot of us are interested in the impact of our
Hmm.
books too. That it, especially if you're doing nonfiction, prescription nonfiction, or something prescriptive, excuse me, nonfiction, or things like that, where you're interested in the impact of the book. You want your book in people's hands. Like, that's your biggest concern, is that you're called to do something. You're called with a message. You've got a message for people, and you want, you know, people to get to it. So the idea is that you're using that book as a platform to get someplace else. With a
Hmm.
traditional publisher, you've got like a 2-year window. I mean, that's what that's the experience of myself and kind of the people I know. I mean, and I still get, residuals from the books, but please, I mean, they're barely enough you know, to talk about, right? But imagine if you are using your independent publishing platform as a way of really making an impact. So that's kind of what I really like about the idea and what I tell people when it comes to self publishing. It really depends on how much you want to have your hands on your book, but you're still going to need a team. Like,
Uh-huh.
the traditional publishers are still using a team. That's why you don't get any
Hmm.
money, because they're paying all these
Because they're
other
paying all these
people.
people. Yeah. Um,
They're paying all these people.
But I mean, if you can publish one book, you can publish more. And if you've got a
Yeah.
platform that you want to, give voices that aren't getting that much attention or don't have that much opportunity, if you really want to open that up for it, like anybody can be a publisher.
Mm,
You need to, learn some stuff, but anybody can do it. That's why I'm trying to
right.
talk you into it.
Ah! He's trying to get me to open. I will definitely open that side of my brain at some point.
I'm just saying. You're already halfway there.
I know. And then I just start gathering people to start publishing, because I mean, I really was going into publishing at some point. Like, similar storyline, thinking about walking into publishing as part of my journey. And I know it's part of my journey. Right now, I'm just going to help people get
And
themselves
that's
going and
fine.
understand it. But yeah, y'all, hang on. Just
I'm just
give
saying,
me a
you'll be
minute.
taking submissions in the not too distant future. I am
Yeah,
putting
y'all
it
heard it.
into being.
Yeah. Yes, you're speaking it into being. Yeah, that's pretty much where we are. You heard it here first. You heard it here first. when it happens, we'll point back to that first conversation with Leigh.
Yep.
When it was like, yeah, that's where. But Leigh, can you just tell everybody where they can find you? What are you doing now? What's up next, and where can they find you?
Okay, so I have an Instagram. I'll be real, I'm not on it all the time, but it's at Mischievous. My
At
last
Miss
name used to be
Cheeky.
Cheek. I was mischievous. Yeah. And I had a person come up to me. She's like, please tell me you don't say mischievous. Like, maybe. I know it's mischievous, but it's clever.
It's clever. Clever
That's how
works.
you know I'm a writer, is because I have a
Yeah,
clever Instagram handle.
right, right,
But
right.
anyway,
Because we
yeah.
play with
So
words. It's just this is what we do. We play with
I think
words.
it's hilarious, but that's what matters.
Yes,
Uh
and if you smile every time you see your Instagram, then yes, that's exactly
yes.
what it needs to do.
And
You need
so
to
yeah,
smile every time.
I am on there. You'll occasionally see photos of my littles or work events where I'm eating delicious foods because you know I didn't pay for that with my my salary. Listen, work trips are great.
Yes, yes. We will be talking about the perks, y'all.
No, I love my job. Ugh, I cannot tell people well enough. Like, I love Ingram and Ingram Spark and all that. And we are not talking about Ingram. I'm not a brand representative right now, but I'm just going to say I love working where I do. I love
Well,
my
that's
job.
good. That's amazing. So
But
you
my
can
whole,
obviously find her at Ingram Spark.
you can obviously find me here. Yeah, I'll actually be at NINC, Novelist Inc. conference in September. So if anybody's there, come find me. It's at St.
Awesome.
Pete Beach, so I'm excited.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you may also be able to find Leigh amongst the Vision Builder community. She's going to be talking to us a little bit later during our book club meetings, especially at our retreat. So you
Which
can look
she
for
might
her
join.
when she's
I'm thinking
gonna be
about
there.
it.
So you might be having lunch with Leigh, y'all, at the book club
It'll
retreat.
be a time.
It'll be a time to be had. Thank you, Leigh, so much for joining us on the Vision Builders podcast. And thank you for giving us some insight about, like, literally your not just how your journey went, but I feel like it just kind of normalizes things for a lot of us, where we feel like it's a unique journey, but maybe something resonates. I know it resonated for me
Yeah.
because I was like,
Oh,
okay,
I
so I'm
love that.
not the only one.
And it wasn't planned. We did not
No,
talk about that before we
no,
got
I
on
didn't
here.
know
So it
that.
was just like magic.
I didn't
Um,
know that. So hence the reason she and I are friends now. She
yeah.
doesn't have a choice.
I mean, you think I gave you one?
I know.
That first time we connected on a 15-minute call, we were like, we're definitely going to talk again.
Yeah. Like this is us. Like this is a thing. Hey creatives, if you're hearing this, then you've been listening to the Vision Builders podcast with Dr. Helene, your writing life coach. Join me next time to get more insights, tools, and resources to help you get the clarity and direction you need to finish that project and build your vision. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave me a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Y'all know how this works. And share. Let somebody else know what you are learning in this podcast. All right. Now, let me know what topics you might want to hear about in future episodes by dropping an idea in the comments. I can't wait to hear, and I definitely love to talk. So, with that, I will sign off. Bye.